Okay, it is 10 o'clock. Let's go ahead and get started. So welcome everybody to our webinar on Microsoft 365 Copilot. Today we will be talking about and demonstrating Microsoft 365 Copilot agents and the Copilot Studio, and how EnterOne can help you and your team use these new features in Microsoft 365 to become more efficient in and more effective in your work. My name is Will Berkeley, and I'll be guiding you through this demonstration. You can see my little blurb there. I'm not going to give you too much information about me, except that I kind of fell into teaching accidentally. I was happily going along doing software testing, and a community college here in the Seattle area, Seattle, Washington area, which is where I'm based, called me out of the blue one day, desperately needing somebody to teach a one-day class. They didn't want to cancel it, and the teacher had called like the day before and canceled. And so somehow they got a hold of my number, I'm not really sure how, and said, please teach our class for us. And it was going to be a Saturday. I wasn't going to do anything except mow the lawn, so I agreed, and I had so much fun. I gave up testing that month, and I've been teaching ever since. So this is part of a series of webinars that EnterOne is presenting to introduce you to the functionality of Microsoft's AI assistant called Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, and the training possibilities that EnterOne has available to you. There will be contact information available at the end of this webinar and links for you to go to various additional information and contact information for other folks and other information that you can go to after that. Now, you may have attended some of our previous webinars already on various levels of Copilot functions. So at the end of this webinar, there will be as I said, our contact information, our representative Saxton Barnes, who unfortunately was not able to make it today, but is our primary contact for this content. So I'll give you his information and he'll be able to give you all the information that you need to know. But this is what we've covered so far already in previous webinars, just the foundations of Copilot, looking at specific use cases as we get into Copilot, a little bit deeper dive a few weeks ago, and now we're on to PL 708, which is dealing with agents and the Copilot Studio. So that's going to be our focus today. If you didn't attend those earlier webinars, they are available, and we'll give you the links to go there again at the end of the webinar. Everything will be available at the end of the webinar. There are many online training offerings available to you. So this QR code, I'm going to put it up here just for a moment. I'm not going to sit here and wait for you to pull out your phone and everything, but we'll put the QR code on the screen at the end of this webinar as well. And as I said, post some links in the chat window to get you that additional information at the conclusion of the webinar. So let's go ahead and get started. Excuse me. This, by the way, is primarily, but not exclusive, just a second. Primarily, but not exclusively focused on the PL 708, 7008 content from the Microsoft Learn system. So if you ever been to the Microsoft Learn content, then this might look a little bit familiar, but we've got added a little bit more to it. So here's what we're going to be covering today. We're going to step back just a bit and do a quick review on agents, just in case you missed any of the other webinars that we have attended, if you haven't attended the webinars that we have had. So we'll take a quick peek at the Power Platform and the different components of it. And then we'll talk a little bit about the different types of agents, pre-built agents, the SharePoint Online agents, and so forth. Then we'll get into creating our own custom declarative agents. And then we'll finally, after that, get into the Copilot Studio in order to build our own custom agents. We'll also have a little bit of time for Q&A. And then, as I said before, there'll be some closing remarks and information for you to move forward after this webinar is over. So let's do a quick review on some of the agent content that we've covered in previous webinars, just to get everybody up to speed. You've probably heard of the Microsoft Power Platform and the currently 5 different legs of the platform: Power Apps, Power Automate, Power BI, Power Pages, and virtual agents. But there's another one which I'm not sure. I haven't really heard. I haven't heard the completely definitive word on whether Copilot agents that we have been focused on in this webinar series is going to be an additional leg, a 6th leg of the Power Platform, or whether it's going to replace virtual agents, the chatbots that you see in the 5th position there. So agents kind of go beyond what chatbots have done. So that's what makes me think they might be a replacement, but I haven't heard completely that that's going to be the case. So the formerly known as is kind of tentative right now, but we're going to be focusing on that 6th leg, the Copilot agents, conversational and intelligent agents. So as I said before, we have several different types of agents in Copilot. So we have the pre-built agents, which I'll be showing you a little bit later, the agents that are already built, already available to you, assuming that you have a Copilot license. They're built by Microsoft and several approved third-party vendors, and we'll be looking at those. We looked at those in detail in a previous session, so we're not going to repeat that right now. At this present time, I'm just giving you the complete picture of them. We also have the ready-made agents in SharePoint. Nowadays, when you create a SharePoint online site, then the SharePoint site automatically generates an AI-powered agent to help you, and it's already scoped to the content of that SharePoint site. So it'll know exactly, the content of that site, can help you dive into that data in various forms. Those are the SharePoint ready-made agents. We also have the agents they call it for everyday business user. Those are the ones that are put into the various apps in the Microsoft 365 suite, such as Word or Excel or PowerPoint. Many of the main apps in the suite already have an agent in them. So I'll be showing you all of these here in a moment. I'm just getting through this slide so I can get out of it here in a moment. And then finally, the advanced agents, that's where we're going to be focusing on today after this brief introduction. So that was an accidental click. Let me go back there for a moment. Click the back button. If I can get the back button to click, there we go. So let me go ahead and show you those other agents here very briefly. So I'm going to jump into my here we go, into my Microsoft 365 account. All right, this is the home page for Microsoft 365. No longer just a blank home page with a list of apps that you can go to. It actually is an app. It is the Copilot app. So Microsoft 365's homepage is the Copilot page. And so in regard to the pre-built apps, you'll see that several of them are listed already on my navigation bar, the researcher and the analyst. And I won't dive into those, but just to observe, we looked at those in previous webinars, but those are the 2 most commonly used and most prominently displayed pre-built agents for us. If I wanted to see the other pre-built agents, I could come down to the All Agents switch and come in here. I will see the agents that I have either built or pinned to my list. There's a few more that I've added. Then there's some more agents, some of the prominent ones that are built by Microsoft. Then some that were shared with me by somebody. Some of the featured agents. I'm still going through the pre-built agents. Here are some additional agents. You notice some of them are built by, as I said, third-party vendors. So I'm not familiar with all of these. And then there are more. So if I click on that, there are more. Did I say that there are more? There are quite a few more. So these are the pre-built agents. Now, I probably should just mention it in passing. When people say, "Oh, wait, these are third party, who can we trust?" Well, these have all been vetted. The fact that they're on this list means that they have been vetted and approved by Microsoft. They don't necessarily work perfectly, right? But at least they're safe, and that's a better thing than you just downloading free agents agents. I'm sure if you go out on the internet, don't do it right now. I mean, don't be distracted. But you could go out on the internet and search for free agents for Copilot or free agents for Microsoft 365, and you would get a ton of possibilities. But they're not vetted. They're just out there. So similar to free templates for the various Microsoft 365 suites. I wouldn't go download a free template for Excel or Word because I don't know where it came from or who's controlling it. But these have been already checked out by Microsoft. And like I said, they may not be perfect, but they are at least safe. Those are our pre-built agents. I won't go into SharePoint right now to show you a ready-made agent, but when you build a new SharePoint site now, assuming you have the licensing when you do that, then you'll automatically have a ready-made agent within SharePoint. We also have, as I said before, the agents for everyday use. So I'm just going to jump for a moment into a file I have here for my Power BI class. And you'll see it used to be, just as of a couple of weeks ago, there used to be on the Home tab a little button for Copilot, but they've moved it down here. So when you open up a file in Word or Excel or PowerPoint, this is the new location for Copilot. And so when I click on that, it'll ask me if I want to do some things and then allow me to add additional prompts and so forth. So those are the everyday agents, and that's as far as we're going to go with that because again, we've covered that in previous webinars. So I'm going back to the home page here for a Copilot. All right. So now let's go ahead and get into the advanced agents, all right? Creating new agents, adding content, and connecting to various different content. So I'm going to go ahead and get it out of this presentation now again. In fact, I think I'll just close it. I'll just close it. There we go. And that'll be a little bit better scenario. All right. So we want to go ahead and create a new agent, and you can probably guess where that button is going to be. It's in the new agent button here on the navigation bar on the home page of Copilot. By the way, I might just mention in passing that the waffle, we all are familiar with the waffle, the 9 dots that have typically been in the far upper left corner have slid over a little bit to be the app launcher. So depending on the licensing of your Microsoft 365 account, you might see the waffle up on top, or in other scenarios for other accounts that I have, I notice that there's an all apps button down at the bottom near my account content. And that will be the other way that I can get into the various apps in my suite. So just in passing, because I happened to notice that a few weeks ago that there's 2 different places depending on your license level that you might have. So I'm going to go ahead and click on click on new agent right now. And I'm going to go ahead and create a declarative agent. Call that because I'm going to declare what it is that I want the agent to do for me. So when I make a declaration, please help me do this thing, then it will go ahead and do it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click in here and type in. It's like how fast I type. I'm going to create an agent to help the employees in my organization with their expense claims when they take trips and so forth. So I typed that in. I'm going to hit enter. It's going to grind through. And again, this is another one of those places where depending on the license level, you might see slight differences from one level to another. But at this point, we're mostly seeing the same functionality, maybe just a slightly different appearance. And so here's my expense claims agent. All right, I'm going to go ahead and change the name right here just because I can. So I'm going to call it expense claims May 21, just to distinguish it from the other expense claims agents I have done. All right. Now, it has some additional information right here at the start. If I click into the instructions, you'll see it gives me the purpose, which I can edit each one of these things if I want to. Some general guidelines on what it's supposed to do, specific skills that it is able to do, some step-by-step instructions, and so forth. A variety of different things here that is already set up for me to do. All right. So if I wanted to right here, now I haven't really told it anything yet. I haven't really told it what to do other than saying claims, expense claims. I haven't really said anything yet. But if I want to try it out right here, just to see what it says, just to see what it does, I can do that. So I'm going to go ahead and come down and give it an initial prompt about something that I want to ask it for. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and say, went to London. I should say to see the Queen, but it's not the case anymore. And I spent such and such amount of money on travel and hotel and food and printing and so forth. Now, I haven't told it whether this is a valid expense or not, but it's going to do its best, right? Based on common information. Part of the large language model is just common information that's out there and available. Okay, it's not going to tell me definitively if these are reimbursable or not. But since I haven't really told it what to do, kind of like any coworker, if I said, "Hey, I spent this money. Is it reimbursable?" If the coworker doesn't know, then they're probably going to say, "Well, I don't know." So it's going to give it its best shot and says, "Well, you haven't really told me what is or isn't reimbursable. So here's your list, at least in a little bit better table format. And oftentimes things are reimbursable, but you haven't told me what to do with this." All right. So, so I can go back now to the configure and start giving it. I can flesh out the information a little bit right here in the instructions. All right. So on the knowledge, all right, on the knowledge group, I'm going to go ahead and add a new line here. All right, come down to in the skills, general guidelines. All right, and I'm going to say, I'm going to add a little line here, and I'm going to say, no reimbursements are available over $200 without Mr. Abernathy's approval. Now, we don't know who Abernathy is, but he's the person who approves these things. All right, by adding that content, all right, I have now given it a little bit more information. So, and then I can also say, if somebody asks about like who to contact, all right, who to contact, I can go ahead and put that information in as well. So I'll go ahead and throw in a line that says, if somebody asks who to contact, we have the website, finance@contoso.com, right? You all know Contoso is a fake company. We're not really doing that. And so now that I've done that, I can go ahead and go back and try it again. And I'm going to go ahead and ask the very same question I asked before. All right, the very same question about going to London and so forth. So it's going to process that now with that new information. And it's okay, well, okay, here's your information. Giving me a little bit more information now. Okay, so now it's kind of said, okay, up to $200 without Mr. Abernathy's approval, but I'm not sure about that yet. So, other than the printing materials, which was only $200, I don't think you're going to get very much. All right, so I could continue adding additional information in here in the knowledge group. All right, in the knowledge section of this, so that it would know as I move forward, what do I need to do and so forth. All right. I can also, I'm going to go a little bit further with this, and I'm going to come down, get out of this little window. Oh, I'm going to go back to configure. Hello. I'm going to go back to configure, and I'm going to add some additional like suggested prompts here, suggested prompts. So when people go into my agent initially, there'll be some suggestions. All right. So they might want to know about reimbursement limits. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and have it that's just the title. I'm going to go ahead and put in a suggested prompt, like what are the limits for the work trip I just took? Or I could have another prompt where people might want to know who to contact. So that's the title. And I'm going to, again, go ahead and put the question just to save them the trouble of having to type it in. I'm copying and pasting, which is why this is turning red for a moment. All right. And if I think, oh, yeah, maybe the contact is more important, I'm going to go ahead and bump that up. So it's the first one that people will see. All right. So again, I haven't really given it too much information, but I'm going to go ahead and create this now. I'm going to go ahead and create this now with this very limited information. And while it's doing that, I was going to jump into a slide here real quick, but I'll go ahead and go to the agent right now. Not going to share it just yet. All right. So again, here's that information on the side. All right. I'm going to go ahead and try a question or so. So let me come down and find out about London again. Having from my notes here, so forgive me if I scroll down through. All right. So actually, I didn't want to do that just yet. Hello, I'm sorry. I wanted to do the update. I wanted to go ahead and do the update real quick. Okay. So now when I go to try it, you'll see those suggested prompts. Who to contact, who should I contact for expense inquiries or reimbursement limits. So if I just click, this is exactly what my users would see when they jump into this after I finally, publish and distribute it to everybody. So they could look at this and they go, yeah, that's what I want to know about. And they could click on that. And what it does, what the suggested prompt does, essentially it's a shortcut. It allows them to click there and that question is popped down into the prompt window. They could then add or subtract content here before they click enter or hit, click enter or hit the go button. And then it's going to go ahead and give it the information. Who do I contact? And it's going to look through its knowledge base and it's going to give me still kind of developing this thing. So if I came back tomorrow, it'd be a little bit quicker, but since I just did it. So it says, here we go. There's the answer, finance@contoso.com. Okay, that's working pretty well. But I think I might be able to go a little bit better with this. I think I could do better. All right. So you can add knowledge to just the content level. Okay. And that is somewhat easier, just as you saw. I just put in that comment about Mr. Abernathy and so forth. The problem is it may be a little bit clumsier because every time you want to change the data, you have to go in and edit the agent again. So every time you want to change knowledge, update knowledge, give it more information, you have to go back to the agent, go back and edit the agent. All right. So rather than doing it that way, there's another option, and that's for us to tie the agent to specific data that's outside of the agent. All right, outside of the agent. It could be in the Dataverse, it could be in SharePoint, it could be in OneDrive, but this isn't like set in stone. But my personal recommendation, even though you can use OneDrive, I would recommend you don't. All right. The idea of the agent that you're creating is you're going to be giving it to other people. So it's not really your agent per se, air quotes, your agent. It's more likely going to be your department's agent, your group's agent, your agency's agent. So putting things in OneDrive, just forget about Copilot for a moment. Putting and sharing things from OneDrive to a large audience, while it's technically possible, is generally, frowned upon in polite company. If you want to put it into a large group, if you're going to share content into a large group, the general mentality or general methodology is to put it in SharePoint. All right. For one thing, you don't have to micromanage the files in your OneDrive. And for another thing, it's just a whole lot easier because SharePoint is designed, its first name is sharing. It's designed to distribute the right content to the right people. And so putting your files or putting your content that you want to use in your agent in SharePoint is just it's a better solution all around. That way, you don't have to be the only one sharing. I know you could share it and give everybody editing access, but why would you want to do that? Why would you want to do that when you can just put it into SharePoint? Then all the people who should have access can. They can update the data as necessary. They can remove data when it's obsolete and so forth. And they don't have to keep coming back to you, and you don't have to worry about, oh, did George, you moved to a different department? I have to make sure I take George out. Yeah, I don't want to do that. I'm just going to put it into SharePoint and let the IT department, manage through the Active Directory groups who does and does not have access to things. All right. So that's what we're going to do next. Let me go ahead and get out of this and come back to
Hey, Will.
Yes, please.
Sorry to bug you. We had a question in the chat from Kenny. He was asking if you can include how to connect to an MCP server using Swag. I'm not sure if you saw the chat, but
I did not see the chat. I have 4 monitors in front of me, and the chat wasn't one of them. So
no worries.
no,
That's what I'm here for.
And quite honestly, I right now I can't. Yeah.
No worries.
So
I'll
if we want to come back later, I might look at that. But
Yep. No
yeah.
worries.
I wouldn't be surprised that it isn't possible, Kenny, but right now I'm not set up for it. So hopefully you'll forgive me for that. So, all right, coming back to my agent. All right, and I'm going to jump back into the configure portion. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to jump into, let me open up a new window, and I am going to go to SharePoint. As soon as it pops up, there it is. So I have this little SharePoint site called Tech Construction, which I use for demos and classes and so forth like this. I use it in the SharePoint class. I use it in the Power BI class and so forth. But in the, excuse me, in the documents library, I have a bunch of different files for various things that I've done. And I have a folder here for Copilot source files. And among them is an expense policy file. Let me go ahead and open it up and show it to you. This could be in a variety of different formats, but for my simplicity, just for simplicity of editing it and viewing it, I have it in a table. Doesn't have to be in a table, could be in just a flow of thought, paragraph after paragraph, going on page after page. But frankly, the easier it is for you to consume it, the easier it is for Copilot to consume it. So I have a table with several categories, expense categories, air travel, hotel, food, and so forth, office supplies, right? Now a maximum of $25, sorry. And so there's some maximums, and there's also some guidelines on things that would be there. So I'm going to go ahead and use that. I'm going to close that file. Not that I have to close it, but I'm just get it out of the way. And I'm going to copy the link. You know that in SharePoint, any entity, whether it be a list or whether it be a file or a variety of things, they all have their own individual web presence, their own URL link by which you can connect them to various places where you want that content to be used. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the link, copy that into the clipboard. Then I'm coming back to my agent, to my expense claims agent, May 21. It is the 21st, right? Yeah. Almost forgot what day it is. And I'm gonna clear out some things. All right. I'm not gonna have Mr. Abernathy involved anymore. Okay, because now we have a little bit better information. So I'm just gonna remove that. Mr. Abernathy's out. Right. We don't know if he's on vacation or what's going on. But I'm gonna scroll down to the knowledge section. The knowledge section. Now you can see it suggests SharePoint or Teams. You probably knew this, but Teams is the front end for storage of SharePoint. All right. I could also use an Outlook file or a variety of other places, but I'm just going to come down here and paste the link for my file. It's going to read it, go into SharePoint and say, oh yeah, it's that expense policies file. So now I have something outside of my agent that's going to be managing its knowledge. So when the agent needs to know something, it'll go to this file. All right. Still have the capabilities are different things that the agent could do. All right. It might be able to like send an email or even create a PowerPoint presentation or a variety of things. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just looking at information, but just to show you the other components of creating an agent. So, all right, so I have that there. I'm going to go ahead and update my agent. So now it's losing that comment about Mr. Abernathy, who's not mentioned in my file. And I'm going to go ahead and go to the agent. And I'm going to, in fact, I could, let me see if I can do this. I'm not even sure. Let me just try this real quick. I'm going to jump over here, do a little quick refresh so everything's copacetic. And I'm going to go to, yeah, there it is. Expense Claims Agent. Expense Claims Agent, May 21. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. This takes me into more the view of what other people will see. Now you notice, looking at it this way, you don't see my suggested prompts here in this view. They won't actually show up until the agent is published. but I'm not too concerned about that. All right, I'm not going to use those suggested prompts now anyway, but that's why they don't show up here. And they did show up when I was doing the try it, when I was doing the practice. But I'm going to go ahead and ask my same question about London. Okay, $1,500 on travel and so forth. When I click on it now, it's going to go out and grab the data from that file. And it hasn't processed it yet. I guess I was a little bit too quick, all right? So maybe what I'll do, because that oftentimes does take a few minutes. Let me go ahead and try it from this end, okay? Let me just hit the update button again. This actually occurs if I'm, too quick on the money in trying to make the agent do its thing, because it needs a little bit of processing time in the clouds. It's just the nature of things. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I'll maybe do a little quick refresh. Not a bad idea. That's also, by the way, a good idea when I'm, let me go back to this again. When I am changing up the source data, if I change up the source data, it may or may not immediately go into the agent, all right? But if it doesn't, then, that's okay. So I just lost my agent on here. I like how you like them apples. So, all right, there it is. Let me come back over here, come back to edit. Well, isn't that interesting? Okay, well, let's just try it. A little bit different than I was expecting that to be, but we'll see what happens here. Don't fail me now. Okay, see, now it's back. For some reason, it didn't do it that way, but here it is. All right. All right, so it's hard to tell, but you can't see it's over here. Okay, again, it's not quite processed everything, but it's getting closer. It's getting a little bit closer, right? But what I want to do, I'm going to go ahead and continue with this demonstration just because, as it goes along, it'll finally get everything connected and copacetic and so forth. So I'm going to come down to the knowledge, and oddly enough, I don't see my file. Well, isn't this just delightful? So I'm moving too fast for Copilot here for a moment. So normally in the real world, you would create an agent, you might be publishing it, get it all done, and then days later, somebody would come and use it. All right, they wouldn't be using it like moments after you had created it. And so that processing in the cloud would have been completed. So I'm going to come back. Let me see here. I might go ahead and just do another quick refresh on this. You can tell from some of the names that I've actually practiced this quite a few times, and that's the first time, there it is, that the file didn't show up. So there it is right back again. I just had to refresh. That's all good. So, but there's some more information here. There's a supplementary file, an addendum file that has some additional information. So if you're flying outside the United States, there's no cost on that. Actually, that's a typo on my part. I was supposed to take that out. Sorry about that. Let me go ahead and do that on the fly right now. Move. Flying outside there is no limit there. Thought I had updated that. There is no limit now. Oh, see that now you know why I copied and pasted things. So, all right. So we have some additional things for specific cities where you might be staying in or out of the U.S. just because of the expense of them. Center Sandwich, New Hampshire, or Tombstone, Nevada, or San Jose or Singapore. Then there's additional hotels. I know I just made those up, but they are real places. So I'm going to add this. The point is I'm going to go ahead and add this additional supplementary information into my agent. So I'm going to do just exactly what I did before. I'm going to copy the link into my clipboard, come back to my agent, and I'll go ahead and paste that additional file in. It will read it from SharePoint. And so I've got both files now. Okay, so I can go ahead and do the update. Let's see how it does this time. Again, it might take a few minutes for it to do the processing. and that's okay, but we'll see what we can do. All right, let me give this a shot just like it is now. Okay, it looks like it did just about everything. The office supplies are still a little bit wonky, but it's recognizing, London as a hotel, so that addendum file has been brought into memory and so forth. All right. Um, Actually, I think $25 was the limit. Now that I think about it, and so yeah, I was thinking of Mr. Abernathy with the $200. Yes, so that's actually correct. So we went ahead and did it, and so when I'm asking questions about it, it can then grab not only the content from that original file, but it'll also grab the addendum file. And if there's a conflict, well then at that point it's your fault if it comes up with the wrong information because there's a conflict. But assuming that your content isn't in conflict, then it's going to be just fine. All right, let me jump over since the chat has some questions here. Let me see if I can get to any of those questions that I can answer quickly here. So back up to our meeting, to the chat. Oops, to the chat. Let me just look at those real quick, just a moment. Okay. How to connect to MCP server using Swag. Yeah, I really, Kenny, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with Swag. Honestly, never even heard of it. I mean, I know what Swag is, but I think you're not referring to that. So, yeah, I don't know what the answer is. You know what I'd like to do? You know what I'd really like to do? Let me just do this on the side. Okay, this isn't really part of the class, but we're having fun here, folks. So I'm going to ask Copilot. Okay. Um, okay. So how do you connect? Let's make it a sentence. Okay. How can I connect to an MCP server using Swag? I don't know what the answer is going to be. I don't know if it's going to come up. I don't know if it's going to ask me what MCP or Swag is. I have no idea. This is just the general. This is not an agent. This is just Copilot chat. But it oftentimes gives me some pretty good information. So I want to try to give you the best answer I can. This is probably where I would have gone after the class. So
Hey,
first
Will,
off,
once you're done with that, we have another question in the chat.
Oh, now everybody's going to want me to ask Copilot everything. As a source, can we specify all the files in a SharePoint file? Oh, yes, thank you. I forgot to mention that. Yes. So anyway, Kenny, I'm going to let you read through this real quick. Hopefully it'll make sense to you. I'm not going to worry about it. There's a little bit of coding there. All right. But it sounds like maybe if you have Copilot, which I assume you do, or you wouldn't be taking this webinar, but this will probably make more sense to you. And you're going to go, oh yeah, of course I should put configs_path, whatever that means. Okay. There's the answer. Kind of outside the scope of the class, but that's okay. In regards to Tony's answer about SharePoint, yes, absolutely. You can go to a documents library. You can go to the documents library and just, let me do this again. Come on, documents library. There we go. And the folder also has a link. So I could put the entire folder in as a source to my Copilot, to my agent. All right. In fact, I've not tried this before. I would be reluctant to do what I'm about to tell you that you can do, but technically you can do it. You can go to the home page of your site. Well, this is a bit longer thread, but you can just grab. I don't know if that's it or not. Let me go back. Let me go back. That's not usually what it looks like. Let me come back up here and come back right here. There it is. Yeah. You can just go ahead and grab that. You can use an entire SharePoint site as the source file for your agent. Now, I would recommend you don't do that. All right. There is a lot going on behind the scenes, hidden content, lists up the wazoo that are in SharePoint that are used for management. All right. Just like in like in a in oops, just sorry. just like in a SQL database or Oracle or Dataverse is what I was trying to think of. A lot of things behind the scenes, hidden tables, hidden content, and so forth. Even when you have something, like a Power BI data model, there is a lot going on behind the scenes. So I wouldn't recommend you probably do the entire site, but as you requested, you can go to a library and specify a folder, and then all the content in that folder would be included. And that might be very useful. I was going to put this in the slide, but I forgot to mention it. I was going to mention it, but I forgot. That would be very useful if you have content that's moving in and out of, of the agent. All right. So rather than going back to the agent and continuing like I did to say, okay, here's a new file. Okay, here's a new file. If you just point the agent to the folder, then you can just add content in there. When some content becomes obsolete or no longer needed, you can pull it out. All right. And so similar to if you were in, like your OneDrive and you wanted to have like a sharing folder with some people, you can pull files in and out of that folder, and they would gain and lose access to those files. Though in the same way, the agent would gain and lose access to those specific files if you point to a folder instead of to the individual files. All right, and that can be very useful. So thank you for reminding me to say that, because I wanted to and then I forgot. Okay, let's keep going. How are we doing on time? Oh, I think we're doing pretty well. Let's go ahead and get into the Copilot Studio. The Copilot Studio. So as we're getting started with the studio, there's a lot more detail here, okay? We're probably not going to be able to finish everything I'd like to show you just because of our limited time, all right? But the studio, creating an agent in the studio is not merely declarative. You don't just, put out a phrase and say, this is what I'd like you to do. There's a lot more, there are a lot more steps, okay? But there's a ton more flexibility and functionality. There's probably a little bit more typing. There might even be involved a little bit of coding. Perhaps you've heard of Microsoft's no-code, low-code methodology, all right? The idea is that you can do a lot of work without having to become a programmer. That's what the no-code methodology is. For example, just off the topic, but not completely, in Power Apps, the first leg of the Power Platform, I can create a completely working Power App with 5 clicks of the mouse, start to finish, 5 clicks. Now that's no code for development, and that's really good. And I've done that multiple times for classes and said, "You don't believe I can do it in 5 clicks, do you? Well, let me show you. Click, 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 click. I'm done, and it's working, and everybody's happy." But then there's also the low code. All right, low code meaning you don't have to become a programmer, but there might be a little bit of tweaking and so forth, but this isn't terrible, okay? The low-code methodology is a lot like what you're familiar with when you write formulas and functions in Excel. I mean, technically, that's low code, all right? When you type in =, sum, and point to a range of cells or point to a table, a column in a table, that's considered low code. That's what we're talking about, all right? But a lot of it is still point, click, drag, and so forth. So
hey, Will, we have one more question in the chat. Oh, okay. Sorry.
That's okay. I'm glad you're pointing it out, because right now that chat window is covered up by something else in window number 6.
The question is, what is the minimum license level required to be able to do all of the different tasks that you're showing in the training?
Oh my, there's the question of the day. There's at least that I know of, there are, is it 3 or 4 different licensing levels that are connected to Copilot, okay? From free to, I think, $20 a month is the kind of the entry fee for Copilot Chat, and upwards for that. Quite honestly, I don't know. I have it written down somewhere, but I don't know right off the top of my head what's the licensing level required for the studio. But I think it's another maybe $20 a month. Okay, so if what I'm about to do is appealing to you, it might be worth your checking into it and see what that is. But I would say try it first and see how far you can get with the present licensing before you go and spend additional money. But it's not confusing. There's just a number of different, aspects or components or possibilities similar to the licensing in Power BI. So there's different levels of licensing depending on what it is you want to do and the capacities of stores that you want to employ. All right, so at the end, I'll see if I can't find that file because I have it written down somewhere. I have it, not written, not handwritten, but I have a Word file with it. Okay, so a lot of people have the basic level. Okay, so now when I say basic level, I mean like Copilot for Hotmail. That's the basic, that's the freebie level. Okay, there's actually a Copilot. If you go to Hotmail, there's a Copilot in there. So doesn't do very much, but basically, it's a Bing search. But it looks nice. But yeah, the basic level is I think $20 a month. Okay, so we want to go ahead and get into Copilot Studio. All right, and there are actually three different types of Copilot Studio, depending on, again, not so much the licensing, but what you want to do. So there's the classic, which I'm going to be showing you. I just recently, discovered that it's called the classic. In fact, just yesterday I was practicing this again, and I said, no, why is that called classic? And so I looked it up and I asked Copilot, and they said, oh, that's because there's a no modern version. And so I went there and I said, I don't think I want to get there just yet. But depending on how you create your agent in Copilot will determine whether it goes classic mode or whether it goes to the more modern mode. And frankly, for the limited exposure I've had to the modern, I'm going to stick with the classic. All right. Most likely, just like in anything else with computers, when you get an upgrade, it has more functionality, but the interface is a little bit different, and that's what I'm not familiar with. So I don't want to waste your time having me go through, the interface when I'm not familiar with it. All right. So let me go ahead and get out of here. All right. And I'll show you two of them. All right. So first off, I'm going to go down to the main Copilot Studio. Okay. The main Copilot Studio. You can see what the link there is. Okay. In fact, maybe I'll put that into the chat here real quick. Well, maybe I'll do that later. I don't want to distract you. You'll start clicking and typing. So the main Copilot Studio looks like this. All right. It's focused on building agents. It's focused on building agents. So I could start right here with, again, a declarative agent, all right, and start creating something. All right. And so maybe I'll go ahead and do that. Let me go ahead and if I could find my little link here I wanted to click on. Or not. Thought I had it right there, but that's okay. But you could start typing what you wanted the agent to do, declaring what you wanted the agent to do. All right, and then it would start creating that. But I'm actually going to go a little bit different direction, okay? Because I want to show you something that has a little bit better functionality, and that's the Copilot Studio that's part of Teams. There's the classic, there's the modern, and then there's the Copilot in Teams. So here I am in Teams, and I've installed not only Copilot, all right, along with, this is the regular team stuff, chat and the teams where you would see your, teams and channels and so forth, your calendar and the calls and so forth. There's OneDrive. If I wanted to see OneDrive from within Teams, that's not a bad place to go. All right. But you can also install as another app, along with many other apps, I mean, literally hundreds. I can install Copilot, all right, within my same account. So when I click on that, I can then start typing things and so forth, or I can go to Copilot Studio, and that's where I'm going to go. All right. Now, when I go here into Copilot Studio, it's going to ask me which of my environments do I want. Do I want to go into the Corp IP? That's something internal. That's for us, corporation, etc. Or I can just create something for myself. All right. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with this right here, right? And I'll start to create an environment. So, and I was going to also mention when I'm in the regular Copilot Studio like that, I also have environments that I can choose. Now, you're probably familiar with environments. All right. They're, within the cloud, isolated receptacles for all manner of different content. You can have a database in each of the environments. You can have other content in each of those environments. Okay. And so there's that Corp IP again, but I'm just going to create within Teams I'm going to create, start to create at least a Copilot agent. And then because I'll probably run out of time here because it's quite a few steps, I might jump into my practice one, which I'll show you the completed one here, but I'll show you the process here as we get started. So I want to create a new Copilot. So obviously I'm going to click the new Copilot button. Still working its way in. All right. So I don't know why it doesn't see my teams. That's very interesting. Maybe I'll jump back out of here and just use this one after all. My Copilot. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to go ahead and call this one. All right, I'm going to create an agent called Events Contacts, but since I already created one, I'm going to call it May 21. All right, that was my May. All right, so this was I have a events contacts, I have a contacts practice, I have a practice content, and then so I have to give it a different name. All right, I'm also going to give it a little bit different of an icon. That's the standard icon, but just to make it stand out in the crowd, I'm going to go ahead and pick a different one. All right, and I used the bike earlier, so I don't think I want to do that. So let me just go over here and grab my pictures. And I might pick a picture of Germany. Well, I guess that does stand out. Maybe I should use the EnterOne logo. That wouldn't be a bad choice. So I know it's in here somewhere. Well, I thought it was in here. Okay. Well, that just stinks. I don't know whether that's going to actually work for me, but that is, let's see what that looks like. Yeah, that didn't work at all. That's okay. I'm going to change it to something else. I'll go ahead and use Germany. Never been to Germany. All right. That's okay. Mostly you'd probably use an icon that, makes actual good sense, but Germany will work. All right. I'd rather use Saskatoon, but that's okay. This will work because since I haven't used it. And I'm not sure what the dimensions of Saskatoon are anyway. All right. So I went ahead and created added the icon. All right. And I'll go ahead and click the create button here to get started. So again, I haven't given it any information yet. So it's going to take me, still in the studio. And so it's going to start asking me to fill in the blanks here as soon as it gets finished here. Just kind of provisioning space for me and so forth. All right. Okay, there's my little icon. All right. If I had anything to test, I could test it right here, but I don't have anything yet. All right. And then there's some questions about, what did you think of this? What did you think of that? And so forth. But I'm going to jump into the topics. All right. The topics are things that elements of the agent that are going to respond to various prompts that people give. All right. And you can say there's quite a variety of them already. Greetings when it first comes in, and the conversation, if they say they're done, okay, they give me a little goodbye. All right, a lot of different things can be put in here. All right, the entities are the tables, again, that might be holding data for us and so forth. And you know what? I think I might be in the wrong place, but that's okay. I'm going to keep on going with this and see how far I can get. So I'll show you the other one in due time, but let's see how far I can get with this. So I'm going to go from blank. Okay. So it's looking for trigger phrases, okay? These topics are looking for trigger phrases, things like where people say, what are the contacts for this location? Or who do I contact if I live in such and such? Those kind of things, all right? And so I'm going to go ahead and add in some practice trigger phrases, okay? Like people might say, who are the event contacts? Or just type in event contacts or just contact, all right? More context for the event. Those are all that I want. Then maybe I'll go ahead and put in contacts, one more, okay, with a plural instead of just a singular. And then I'm going to go ahead and once I've added those initial triggers, all right, initial phrases, I'm going to go ahead and click plus. And so those are the triggers that it's going to be looking for, all right? And then I can put in a little message, all right? So I can come in here, I'll just put in some basic information here for starters, like I'm pasting it again. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the trigger bar. And I'm going to say, okay, the event contacts for North America, and I have two different people, okay? Lynn in the US and Lydia in Canada, all right? So that's not too bad. So if somebody jumped into this agent and typed in one of these questions, okay, just contact or contacts or contact for the events or whatever, then it would jump right into giving them this information. That would be the very next thing it would do, all right? And if that's all we need, then I guess we're done. So I'm going to go ahead and click the little plus button to add a node. Each one of these little boxes is called a node, an element that does something, either giving somebody information, asking them a question, taking them to a certain place. Each one of those are nodes. So I'm going to add another node, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and end the conversation. Oh, actually, sorry, I was going to add a little message, okay? And I'll just put in, thank you. All right. And then I'm going to add one more, and that's going to be the end of the conversation. You'll notice I have some choices here. Some of the node options have choices. So in the end conversation, I could end it by just saying, hey, we're done. That was fun. You know, you're on the run. Or if somebody says, you know, I really want to talk to a real person. All right. You've probably had that experience when you talk to chatbots with various companies. So this is where I could transfer it to an agent, and I would have to assign it to a real agent. Now, we're talking about Copilot agents, but here in this context, we're talking about a real live person. It's too bad it doesn't say transfer to a live agent, but it doesn't. But we know what we're talking about because we're in the context of agents right here. So I'm going to go ahead and end with the survey. All right, and that'll be the end. So the survey will be like, what did you think of this agent? And they can, you know, rank it on a scale of 1 to 5 and tell us what you really think and so forth. So that might be all I need to make this agent work. All right, but I'm actually going to add a little bit more. So underneath the trigger phrases, you'll see if I hover over that line, the sequence line, I'm going to add a node right here. So I'm going to insert a node between the triggers and the message. All right, I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and I'm going to add this additional message. And I need to go and copy the message here for a moment. Copy and paste it. So my message is going to be, hey, I can help with that. I can help with events calendar. All right. And so then I'm going to say, let's see, I'm going to go to the bottom of that. I'm going to add in, let me see, what am I doing there? I'm going to add in a question. There we go. I'm going to add in a question. Because I'm asking a question, of necessity, people can answer more than one way, right? And so at the very least, there will be two conditions split out from the question, right? And so I might say like, you know, what country, okay? Something to that effect. Okay. At the bottom, you'll see a little variable option, all right? I'm not going to add a new variable. I'm just going to change this variable name from var to var country, okay? That'll be the name of my variable here. And so then I'm going to add some, get rid of this thing first. I'm going to add some options here. I'm going to say USA as an answer. I'm going to say Canada as an answer. I'm going to say, what's my next one? Oh, France à la française as an answer. And I'm going to say, I need to slide over on the, that's what I'm going to say. I need to slide over because there's all these conditions being built below it. Okay. And now I'm going to say Spain, spring? No, Spain. There we go, Spain. All right. So there are my responses there for the USA, for Canada, for France, for Spain, and then everybody else. All right. Okay, not too bad. So you see what we're doing. We're kind of building a structure for what happens when people answer a certain way. all right? And we're going to base that on, whatever their response is going to become, it will be filled in as the content of the var country variable, all right? So I don't want to create a new variable. I'm just going to go with their variable because you can see var country is each one of those. So whatever I answer here, that will be input to the var country variable. Okay, so I'm doing pretty well here. Let me just keep on going. So far, I haven't typed very much, and certainly you wouldn't consider it coding, right? You would consider it sentences, like, what I'm about to do next. I'm going to come down to the USA. I'm going to add a message, right? And I'm going to say the event coordinator is Lydia Holloway, all right? I might want to make this a little bit more personal. See if I can do this here. Yeah, I think so. I'm going to put hi and a comma, and in front of the comma, I'm going to add a little variable, the user, okay, the user's name, whoever is actually signed in and using this thing, all right, because it's not going to be a open agent for anybody in the world, all right, this is an internal agent right now, and so it's going to pick up that person's name, whoever they're signed in as, all right, and so for the US, Lydia Holloway is the, oh, Canada. Sorry, I grabbed the wrong person. I grabbed the wrong person. I meant to grab the other person. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and paste this, and I'll leave the. I'll put in. There we go. Or USA is, and I'll say Fred. All right, filling that in because I didn't find it real quick, and I'll call it Fred Flintstone. All right, Fred F at Contoso. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing here. I'm going to show a message. I still have Lydia on in my clipboard. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the same name. All right. I could just as easily have one, after the message. Well, no, I guess I couldn't, because once I'd ask the question, I'm immediately splitting to the conditions. And so I do need to have, hi so-and-so in each one of these. All right. And now we get Lydia. Might think it's a little bit tedious, but it's not nearly as bad as coding. I can tell you that from personal experience. This is so much easier. It's like when we went from basic to visual basic. I thought I thought heaven had come down to earth. I mean, I like visual basic, but seriously, in comparison, there is no comparison. So that's what we're going here. This is considered low code development. Okay, so there's my Spain. Well, I am way off on this. How am I grabbing the wrong person each time? I don't know. So Spain, France. Miriam is France. You're going to fix that this time. Let me go and fix that this time. That's me, not the system. Okay, now we're going to Spain. Hello. Christine is Spain. Amanda, you'll remove all these mistakes from the recording, right?
Of course.
But this is what the real world is like. Nobody types everything perfectly the first time except Mr. Data. And I'm sorry, but he's off this week. All right. And then we have, so the last one, conditioned for all others. All right. I could say something like, they plugged in my original answer before I created the condition. All right. So you know what I could do? I could say North America and elsewhere. Okay. Or, yeah, something to that effect. Because that way, if they answer a different question, if I actually allow them to, which I'm not right now, then they would know that these are the people for North America and everybody else, right? Okay, pretty good. So far, so good. All right. So now I'm going to come down to the, under the message note here. All right. I have my end of the message. I've ended the conversation. All right. I don't really have anything else to say for anybody else. All right. Except, so what I'm going to do is click on this. When I click, let me just show you. When I clicked on that, I had all those options, but I also have this little bitty circle that turns pink if I hover over it, and that's called the rewire button. The idea is I can drag it to the next step. So I'm going to go ahead and drag it and have one unified end of conversation for all of these. So click, drag, rewire. Okay, so it'll come back to there for everybody. Okay, there we go. Click, drag, rewire. Oop, didn't drag. Missed it. Click, drag. Come on. Okay, I'll just do it right here. I think it'll scroll for me. Come on, scroll. There we go. Okay, I think I have one more. Yeah, one more person, the original US. So I'll click and get the pink. Oops, get the pink. And then drag and interrupt and then rewire. All right. Nice if I could drag this over, but I don't know that that's even an option. Nope, don't think it is. That's okay. If I can drag it that way. Nope, that's okay. All right. I would imagine, but I haven't really tried this. I've always done it this way. But I would imagine, just off the top of my head, that if I had created that message on one of these other ones, it would have been more centralized. And in the non teams, but the classic Copilot Studio, it actually would self-center itself. So I'm guessing that although that feature of self-centering isn't here in Teams yet, it probably will be in due time because it is convenient. All right. Now I could go a little bit further with this. I'm not going to do it just because of the limited amount of time, all right? But I could easily put in another, I could easily put in another message like right here and say, did you have somebody else that you wanted to ask about? And, maybe I'll go ahead and do that. Maybe I will go ahead and do that, all right? Although I've already rewired these guys. Wonder if I can just take those out. Yeah, after all, I did all that stuff. Oh my goodness, can you believe it? So, yeah, so let me go ahead and try that. I'm going to click on the thank you. Well, actually, before I get to, I get to the thank you. And I'm going to go ahead and ask, let's see here. I'm going to ask another question. Okay. Do you want to check another? Okay. All right. So I'm scrolling down here, right? I'm going to put in yes as an option and no as an option. Okay. So that's looking pretty good. I don't really need another variable, all right, but I do need to know what they're going to do with this, all right? So this end of the message, I think I will get rid of that. I think I'm just going to delete that because I want to put it somewhere else. Okay, and I don't think I need this other condition, so I'll just get rid of that. Okay, so if they answer no, now I'm going to come, I probably could have dragged it over, but I didn't bother to. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a message and say, thank you. And I'll go ahead and end the conversation with the survey, of course. Okay, now if they say yes, then what I need to do is grab the rewire. Come on, rewire. Grab it. There it is. And I'm going to drag it up. Drag it up. Come on. Drag it up to, I don't think I need to, since they're asking another question about this, I'm just going to take them right to here. Okay? So they don't have to put in context again. I'll just take them right back to the help with the context. All right. And then they can go ahead and ask the question and so forth. All right. So this is not too bad. This is not too bad at all. All right. I'm going to go ahead and save this. Probably should have been saving along the road, all right, along the line, but just in case anything untoward happened, like, somebody kicks the cord out of the wall, lightning bolt, horses, run rampant by and knock the electricity out. All right, but I'm going to go ahead and try it. Let me go ahead and test the bot, okay? And I'm just going to start out with like, hi, all right, kind of a general thing. One of those topics. Remember all those topics that we had? Greeting was one of them. So they already know what to do with hi or hello or hey or whatever. So it just means start. All right. So there's my little icon. Okay. So this is me and this is the chat bot. Okay. This is the agent. So it says, hey, I'm a virtual agent. All right. What can I help you with? And I'm just going to put in, contacts. Now that's one of my triggers. So it says, oh, I know what to do with that. I can help you with that contact. What country? And since I had a specific and limited number of choices, as opposed to an open-ended question, all right, it's going to say, okay, here are the choices. Okay, US, Canada, France, Spain. So I'll go ahead and click on Spain. Bink. By the way, over here on the side, it's showing you graphically, actually walking you through the process. This is where we are right now, okay? We're past Spain. We just did the thing. And so here I am signed in as Will Berkeley. Remember where I did the username? That's my sign-in ID, okay? Will Berkeley up here, all right? And so it says, hi, Will Berkeley. Could have put anything else I wanted to. And there's other information that, could have come in. So there's that person, all right? All right, very good. So now I noticed that it didn't do, oh, you know what I didn't do? Spain is a dead end. I did not go back and reconnect those. Look at that. That's why we try things out. All right. Now it's gonna bother you all day long as to wondering whether I did that on purpose or not. But you're never gonna know. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and come down here. All right. And I'm gonna say, let's connect to this other thing. Okay. So again, rewire to the thank you. Now it's starting to recenter. Look at that. It's just because I mentioned it, it started doing it now. Isn't that just like Copilot? Always listening. It's as bad as Alexis. I mean, it's as good as... Did I say that out loud? Yeah, you better take that one out as well, Amanda. All right, let's keep on going with the rewire. So come on, rewire. Pink, pink. Okay. So now I think, did I have one more? Maybe I did. Nope, there's the US, there's France, or Canada, France, and Spain. Okay, and then the wild one. All right, so let me try it again. Let me start over. Oh, I better save. Yeah, wouldn't do for me not to save. Let's click save. Yeah. I don't know what that's about. Save a copy. I don't know what that's about. I think because I clicked save twice too quickly. Gee, I hope that didn't goof it up. Yeah, I don't think so. Okay, let's go ahead and test it again. All right, so I'm going to start again. Hello. Next, I'll go ahead and type in contacts. So it jumps me right, it skips past the greeting, goes right to my custom triggers. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and click on Canada, and it says here it is, and then there it is. Because I did the linking, okay, the rewire, it says, do you want to check another? If I say yes, all right, it takes me back to, it might have had to, oh, there it is. What country? I was just waiting. Not patient enough. We don't live in a very patient society, do we? Takes more than 3 seconds. There's Fred. All right. So I could do the yes, yes, yes all day long. If I click no, all right, then it's done. And it says, thank you. Did that answer your question? That's the first part of the survey. All right. I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, it did. And then it's going to say, okay, here's my little survey. I'm going to give it a 5 because it did such a great job. Okay. Is there anything I can help you with? No, thanks. End of message. End of chat. All right. Now, we're not quite done. I mean, we might think there's only 4 countries in our list. That's all we have to worry about. But there's actually a little bit more, okay? So the agent is getting smarter and smarter all the time, and it's making better use of Copilot, the AI assistant, all the time. But I still am a little bit limited. As of last night, I mean, so it could be anything right now. But as of last night, I was trying some wide variations, okay? Like, who do I talk to in the USA? Okay, that's not one of my triggers. That is not one of my triggers. So when I hit enter, it's going to say, I don't know what to do with that. All right. So I need to tweak. That's a natural thing, expected thing. All right. I have to tweak my triggers so that they have a wider range of, recognition on the variations of people's questions. So that's just part of developing it. All right. And I'm guessing, like I said, as Copilot, the AI agent gets further and further integrated into the agent building process, it's going to figure that out in due time. I bet if I come back in a month, well, maybe 6 months, it's going to be a lot stronger in determining, oh, in the context of this chatbot, this question is about context. And it would jump me in, kind of basically making its own triggers and then responding to you. All right. So that's how that works. How are we doing on time? 15 minutes. All right. We're doing just great. Let me jump back into the chats. Let's see here. I was going to do that minimum licensing level. All right. Let me go ahead and see if I can find that real quick. And if there are other questions, by all means, please feel free to ask. I was looking to see if there's anything in the Q&A. There may not be. Nope. Everything's in the chat. Oh, that's fine. That's just fine.
I think you've answered everything so far, Will. You're good.
Okay, very good. I'm going to jump see if I can find that licensing thing. Although I'm not sure exactly. I know it's somewhere in OneDrive. Let me see here. Copilot license. Just a minute, everybody. I'm not going to spend all day making you wait for me to do this, but I'll see if I can find it pretty quickly. Details. In the last couple of days, so I can search that way. Licensing, PBI and license. Oh, it was Power BI licensing requirements. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I don't have a general licensing list, but I might do something else like this. Let me just jump back in here and just say, let's just try this real quick. All right, Copilot Home. What licensing is required to use Copilot Studio? All right, let's see if we can find that out, because I want to try to, give you good answers if I can.
While you're searching for that, Will, there was another question that popped up that said, if the user were to type in United States instead of USA, would the bot be able to interpret what you're requesting?
I would guess not. In the same way that it didn't know what to do with that other question. It's very specific right now. Very, very specific. All right. So I can jump back there and try it if you want, but I bet you real money. I bet you a nickel. I bet you a solid nickel that's not going to happen. Not at the present time. But there are, just jumping back into this for a minute. Yeah, back to this. Edit. We won't take the time to do it, but just as I was able to create a custom, was it? No, that was claims. Sorry, I went to grab the wrong one. Just as there was a way of doing that custom variable that picked up my name, there are ways of doing some, variable flexibility things in that regard. Like if a country is added as an input, then just take the person straight to the context. There's lots of different things in that. We just didn't have time to do all that because it would require a little bit more time than we had. But in the topics, that's where we would do that. Okay. So yes, it can, but just not at the present time, not in the current simple format that it is. All right. Did we get the answer on, or did I just kill the answer? I might have just killed it. Just let's go back to, because I didn't remember it for the, nope, didn't remember. There it is. Yeah, there it is. So what did we come up with? A penny? I don't think that's it. Yeah, there's a number of different things here. There's a, free level, but you have to be admin capacity. This is a bigger answer than I was expecting. I was thinking they'd just give me a number, but yeah. So if I were to, you could go ahead and search on this on your own. I won't take the time because I have some other things I have to cover here before we go. So let me go ahead and take care of those right now. Kind of the end of the day things. Let's just roll through it. All right. So there's so EnterOne and Microsoft has connected, or how's that, whatever the word is, I'm kind of out of word, it's Thursday, for a system called Empowered that is going to help you to again gain the skills you need to be effective on the job. Okay, there's a link right there. I'm going to put it into the chat here in a moment. Okay, if you have your phone out, you could do a quick scan of that QR code while I'm grabbing the data, and that I want to put into the chat here just a moment. Links, that's where I wanted to go. All right, so get that into the chat here real quick. I'll get that into the chat here real quick. All right. And then also, again, there's the, you can register for various, again, complimentary access to various things for training and for helping you get up to speed with that. All right. Skills Fest is coming up just a couple of weeks from now, right? Is it? Oh, I guess maybe about a month. Oh, no, about 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks. So middle of June, from the 8th to the 12th, you can see the various different things. All right. And you can register there. One of the links that I just posted is that registration link for Skill Fest. All right. So you can take a look at that and register if you would like. All right. Finally, Saxton Barnes, who would normally have been here to say all these things, is the contact that you might want to, person you want to get a hold of. And I think, let's see, do I have Saxton's information on there? I don't know that I do. So let me at least put in Saxton's contact information in the chat there. Okay, that'll take care of that. All right. So I'm looking to see if there are any other questions. Amanda, did I miss anything? I think we're okay. Thank you. Thank you, Jorge.
I think you are good.
Okay.
Yes, and absolutely. The recording, as well as all of the AI Skills Fest, Saxon's information, everything will be sent out in an email, usually within 24 to 48 hours.
Oh, okay. Very good. Well, thank you all very much for attending. Hope this was useful for you, and perhaps I'll see you in another webinar or a class down the road. So you all have a great weekend and rest of the day.
Thank you, Will. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Amanda.